Number 4, Gen Zers say they're scaling back on dining out. According to a new study, nearly 35% of young people admit to having menu anxiety. Come on. When they say these things like all people are doing this, all Gen Zers
It's an insult to the Gen Z people.
Menu anxiety. Menu anxiety.
It means they're too nervous to talk to their servers and place their orders. They're also concerned about the price of restaurants, and the overall social element of dining out makes them uncomfortable. Come on.
This is insulting.
Brad, you've got to be insulted.
Yeah.
Okay, I identify as a zillennial, okay?
Oh,
On paper, I am Gen Z,
Yeah.
but I'm not with them. I'm a millennial.
Okay.
Like,
You're an
I'm,
old soul.
Yes,
You're an old
yes,
soul.
exactly.
Okay.
So, but I am offended. Like, why? Just talk to your
on.
waiter.
Yeah.
Come on.
Get off the phone.
Be
Thank
normal.
you.
Look up, make eye contact. Okay, sorry, keep going.
So they say that might be related to the pandemic, since you spent so much,
Well, you
they
guys are
spent so
really
much
angry
time.
this morning. Been out of shape.
We're angry.
This is the United Uprising channel. Welcome to today's show. I have to cover this topic. You may remember in the past, some of you probably don't, because a lot of you are actually new. A lot of my subscribers are gone, even though I'm brand new to YouTube. I've talked about a lot of these stories about Gen Z. Obviously, they gaslight people with the Gen Z stuff to drive people who are freely thinking people insane when they see the behavior of a lot of these just unhinged people who are thinking that they're thinking freely and they're not. They're of the hive mind, right? Which is why we always see the hive mind predictive programming. We always see movies like American Horror Story TV shows showing us the hive mind, because Gen Z is pretty much living in a hive mind. They think they're free. They think they're making thoughts, and they're not. They're completely programmed. And I covered how stories were coming out about how Gen Z was afraid to use the phone. They were afraid to pick up their phone. Of course, this is conditioning on top of driving people and gaslighting people crazy over how the behavior of other people and how, dumbed down they are. But it's also being used to eventually enslave people inside of their homes and convince people in Gen Z that it's normal to be afraid of a ringing phone. Just like this story. It's normal to have menu anxiety. That's right, menu anxiety. Gen Z suffers from menu anxiety when dining out, with many too scared to order their own meals. So this obviously can gaslight people, because you hear this stuff and then you say, how could these people even have the right to freedom? How can they have the right to vote? Now, obviously the system is completely rigged. Your vote does not count. It has not counted for quite some time, if ever, in general. A lot of people don't believe it's ever counted, but we know for a fact it does not count now. But the mindset of it does count, because everybody, even conservatives, seem to believe that your vote counts. Now, people like this are actually allowed to make decisions when they can't even order off of a menu. That's how it gaslights people, right? But the sad reality is that this is what they are doing to people's minds. They're frying their minds. They're making them fearful of normal activity. And of course, this makes people want to do what? Gen Z want to do what? Stay inside, not leave the house, afraid to interact with people, afraid to date people, afraid to be in relationships, do everything digital. That's what this is all about. Right? We hear about the metaverse, eventually what everything is going to become when they enslave everyone in their homes. Everything will be done digitally. This is by design. They make people like this. They make people and give people what they would call something so ridiculous as menu anxiety. They're afraid to make decisions. They're afraid to do any of this stuff. So how are they ever going to interact? And then how are they ever going to procreate? The answer is they're not. They're not going to have kids, right? Think of all the programming in place for Gen Z about how horrible it is to have kids. There's articles out there. Even this week I saw an article about how much happier women are who don't have husbands and don't have kids. It couldn't be more opposite. You could speak to any woman. You could speak to any man, like real men and real women, not formulated ones, and how fulfilled they feel from having a family, being in a real relationship. They want you to think that all that stuff is toxic and poison because they want you under their full control around the clock. They don't want you to procreate. They don't want you to think freely. They want you to be their slave and their servant, and not actually, when you have these things naturally occur, like even having families, you tend to think clearer. You tend to, not always, but you tend to actually live a human existence, which they don't want you to do. They want you to be fearful of that. So let's get into this menu thing, because it's absolute absurdity. They said, add going out for dinner to the lengthening list of things Gen Z simply can't or won't do. A surprising majority of young people reported suffering from menu anxiety while eating in a public setting, a study conducted by British restaurant chain Prezo found researchers asked more than 2,000 people how relaxed they felt while eating out, hoping to gauge how enjoyable the experience is for everyone, right? So they're even telling you here that people are so dumbed down that they won't even be able to order their own food. And there's truth to that because you're not going to be ordering your own food. They might give you the illusion of it. It'll be product A versus product B. It'll probably be the same thing, the same Soylent product they deliver to your door. They want Big Brother. This is what they're conditioning Gen Z for. They want Big Brother to make the decisions for them. Welcome to global communism, okay? That's what it is. You don't make decisions for yourself. And they will turn to the state and want the state to do everything for them. Protect them from the big bad bullies out there like United Uprising or a call for something, I can't remember. Take them down, remove them because they're hurting my feelings. And then Big Brother comes in and removes them for them. And then they feel more loyalty to the state. They don't realize they're being enslaved by the state, right? I don't want to order dinner tonight on the menu. It's too intimidating. I don't know what to pick. Can you pick it for me, Alexa? I mean, Big Brother? Yes, you should have human turducken. What? Okay, I'll order that. Human a la cob? Sounds good. Oh, sounds like a great choice. It's very nutritious for you. It is? Okay, I'll eat a human child. I mean, what? This is what we're headed towards. People can't even make their own decisions. And nobody, that's what's bad about this, it's scary about it, is that these people aren't frightened by it. They're like, oh, it's normal to not want to. It's too many choices to make. They don't realize what they're being herded into here. And when it's all in place, it's going to be too late for them. So 86%, this is according to this article, of Gen Z adults aged 18 to 24, we're not talking about 12-year-olds, 18 to 24, admitted they have suffered from menu anxiety when dining in restaurants compared to 67% of all respondents. Some of these young adults, 34%, reported feeling so anxious they wind up asking other people at the table to speak to waiters on their behalf. And sadly, there's truth to this. I mean, are those numbers accurate? No, probably not, because that would mean every time you're out at a restaurant, you could literally look at 3 other tables around you and you're going to see somebody who's nervous to speak to the waiter. I mean, maybe. I don't know. I don't have that much experience going out to restaurants anymore, but is that true? There's probably a little bit of truth to that. But seriously, they're ingraining this into people to want others to make decisions for them. That's global communism, where you don't make decisions. Now, we're in an illusion right now where people do think that they're freely making decisions, but they're not. They're under a psychological operation. They think that their vote counts. They think that they're making a choice at the grocery store. They don't realize that product, if they want mac and cheese, you're getting one mac and cheese, really. You might have a different texture. Same chemicals, same company owns it. They're giving you the illusion. It's been the illusion of freedom in this country for quite some time. This is a giant science experiment. However, the science experiment could continue to work if they allowed it to. They don't want it to continue to work. They want it to be like this. They want Gen Z to ask Big Brother to do everything for them, giving more power to the state and removing freedoms from the civilians. That's what stories like this are really talking about. It's not just to look at and laugh. You know, the 90% of people probably see this story and they go, oh my gosh, can you believe Gen Z? They can't even order off a menu. Everyone's laughing about it. They're going, this is how stupid these people are. And they don't realize that this is a problem. And this shows us what they're doing to people, how they're formulating people. No one's going, why are these people like this? Oh, they must have been raised poorly. Well, yeah, of course that ties into it because it really all goes back to the parents. But these parents don't realize that they've raised these children via technology, television, the state, the institutions, and they've deliberately trained them to be like this. Why? So that these people give all control to the government. They give all control to the state. The state runs and controls. That's, you know, for people out there that don't know 1984 and Big Brother and all these references to Big Brother and they all seeing eye, that's what it is. Big Brother's watching you. That's what these references are. Big Brother's controlling you. You go to Big Brother, you know, you trying to figure out, you know, the best soap. Big Brother will tell you what soap to use. What do you want for dinner tonight? Big Brother will tell you what you want. Is this the right person for me to date? Big Brother will tell you, oh, you aren't going to date anyone because you're going to be home. You're going to be too afraid to date, but you could date this avatar. Oh, that is better for me. I will date an avatar. I will not procreate because it's bad. I will listen to state. I will let state control and run my mind. That's what this is. So it goes on to say, while most people look forward to dining out during the holiday season, we know, as our research shows, it could be stressful for some to eat out, right? So stay home. right? Again, I've talked about this with Uber Eats and this delivery and how convenient suddenly, like, you could get McDonald's delivered to your work because people they're becoming too lazy to even drive to a drive-thru. It used to be like, wow, a drive-thru, that's convenient. I can go get my fetus meal at McDonald's, right? Oh, okay. You go, you drive, you don't have to go inside, etc. You could be in your pajamas for all they care. It doesn't matter. Now people don't even want to do that. And again, this is about enslaving you in your home, making people so fearful to leave their home. Your home is your cell. They can't enslave. You hear about prison planet and all these terms. You can't be enslaved. Okay, none of us are going to be enslaved in a giant prison cell. There's not enough room to enslave all of humanity. But they take the living space that you have. Right now, we're all in whether it's your own apartment, your own home, you're allowing yourself to be enslaved by the technology inside the home. You're bringing these things in. They're listening to you. Okay, government agent, and people are like, I don't care that they're listening to you. Oh, you don't? Wait till more and more we get further along here. Because when you start disagreeing and you're like, I don't like what Big Brother's doing, because suddenly you're going to turn on them when you realize what it is. Everybody will. But once you give up all your freedoms, it won't matter once you're awake and you don't like it and you want to go back to the way it was. It won't matter because you'll have given up full control to them. Right? They'll have the control of your air conditioner. That's why they want all the smart technology, smart locks. They'll be able to lock you inside, tell you it's about your carbon footprint. I mean, this is true, and it's too much for people to grasp, especially who? Gen Z, because this is scary to them. We need people to grow up. We need adults to behave like adults now more than ever, and they're not. Like this is saying, they can't even order off a menu. And you can look at, the pictures in the article are hilarious. You can look at them and be like, oh yeah, you could tell that this guy can't order off a menu. He's not even a man. Looks like a little toddler, right? So the frequent occurrence of this very specific fear appear to be triggered by the increasingly exorbitant cost of a meal out, along with the respondent worrying about not being able to find something they like on the menu or after the fact regretting what they ordered. So nobody's concerned about that, right? About the price of things. They're too busy fighting about, you like Donald Trump, I don't like you. I don't like him, he's mean. Instead of being like, hey, you're making it impossible for all of us to eat. These psychopaths are gaslighting us against each other while they're pricing us out of living. They're pricing us out of being able to go to a grocery store. They're pricing us out of everything, right? And then instead of going after them, being like, hey, I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican, which everyone should be doing, saying, you're making it so expensive we can't even go to a restaurant. No. We're throwing you out of Congress. You're not living up to what you're supposed to be doing. You're not working for us. Bye. Nobody's doing that. Why? Because they're being gaslit into fighting amongst each other. So it says some even took it to the extreme. 40% of Gen Z customers saying they simply wouldn't go out for dinner if they couldn't check the menu first. A similar study, this one conducted in the United States, found that 3 in 10 Americans have menu anxiety with surprise, sarcastically, Gen Zers being more nervous than older generations. The survey of 2,000 adults found that younger generations were far more likely to have anxiety while ordering. 41% of Gen Z and millennials compared with only 15% of Gen X and baby boomers aged 44 to 77. Gen Z has continuously reported alarming rates of general anxiety, which has trickled down to impact typically inconsequential and enjoyable activities such as taking vacations and dinings. Does anyone not see where this is headed? They're enslaving it, and they're psychologically doing this to Gen Z. That's the problem. Gen Z is getting weakened. When they weaken you as a human being, and they make you scared, and they make you, oh, you're afraid. We have people who are afraid of speech, and then it filters into this. That's the problem. If you raise people the way all of us were raised, where it's sticks and stones may break my bones, and you find a channel like mine, and you don't like it, you just turn it off. You don't call for them to be removed because it hurts your feelings so much. They've worn and weakened and continue to weaken humanity to the point where they can't order off a menu. They're afraid to go on what once was a luxury, a vacation, because it's too intimidating for them. A vacation? I can't go on a vacation. There's people there. There's dining. There's decisions to be made. I need Big Brother to do that for me. This goes on to say that Gen Zers, that the guy, the person the article's about, explained that many Gen Zers he's studied have trouble socializing in real-world conditions. They are digital natives. But after the outbreak, of course, that wasn't done by design. They have missed out on important in-person social skills. Because so many Gen Zers are anxious and because so many have trouble in non-digital social spaces, even activities as simple as ordering food sometimes becomes something that they will avoid. And again, you think about all this stuff, it always goes back to depopulation, because you think somebody who behaves like this is ever going to actually meet a woman or meet a man and date, have a relationship, get married, have kids. Think about all the stuff that ties into that, like I said earlier. How, oh, having kids is horrible. Kids are a nightmare. They've beaten that in everybody's head, right? Then you mix in the fact that people are afraid to even go on vacations. And you mix in the fact that people don't want to meet people because they're afraid of confrontation. They're afraid of talking and interacting in person. They're nervous about it. I mean, this is mental enslavement that they have caused for this entire generation of Gen Zers. And imagine the generation below them. People who are, young kids now who are being raised by these people, if they already have kids, some of them, or millennials, I should say, right? It's going to get worse and worse and worse. And this is all psychological. And they're doing this to humanity psychologically. They're doing this to people. They're the ones responsible for why people act like this. They're letting the states run and control the mind. And this is the hive mind at work. Menu anxiety. Yes, it's easy to look at and make fun of, but it's frightening. It's frightening what they're doing to human beings. Very, very frightening. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you as always and your families.